So we had a really strong storm last night and we survived. The only thing that happened is I had one little pile of wood fall over. Not bad at all. All the things I've rigged together and built, it's all holding up, just like I know what I'm doing. So the other day I was telling you that we were thinking about buying Brahma chickens. The Brahmas are a very large chicken, and they're considered a sustainable meat bird. So they can get up to 12 pounds, the rooster can. That's a big bird. I just watched a video of this thing. It's a monster. I mean, absolute monster. So we were thinking about getting some next year. That would be, well, 2 years before we could actually start breeding meat birds on our own. So in the meantime, we're going to just go ahead and breed the chickens we already have and use them as meat birds. So right now we've got 22 eggs in incubation. They should be ready to hatch around the 15th of May. That'll give us 22 birds, and they get up to 4 to 5 pounds in 10 to 12 weeks. They're not huge. Now last year we got actual meat birds. These things are the sickliest things. I think we got 25 of them, and it was like $70 to buy these things, and they just eat a ton of food. Well, when we butchered them, they weren't very big either. I mean, we got a couple that were 8 pounds, but the majority of them were 6 pounds. We was kind of disappointed in the weight. But in the end, I mean, we got, I don't know what, I forget what it was, 40 jars of food out of it. I mean, it was pretty significant, and you know, it's okay, it's great, we got plenty of food. But the problem with Cornish cross is you can't rebreed them. They die so early. They get sickly, they have heart attacks. Their bodies just can't handle the amount of meat it's producing. They were just bred just to live 8 to 10 weeks, and then you got to butcher them. They seem like they just suffer so much. They lay around, they can barely walk. One of them, when I butchered her, had a broken wing. I guess she fell over and tried to catch herself, and she broke her wing. If I had to do it again, I would, but we decided we were never going to do that again. We would just breed these guys and just live with the smaller amount of meat. The thing about that, though, is it's free. There's no cost involved other than the food, obviously, but either way, you're buying food. Well, these guys just don't eat a lot of food. We got 14 of these, and they eat like 2 coffee cans of food a day. So it's not bad, and they're producing eggs right now. So they're being really worked hard. Now, Carolyn, she ferments food, and by fermenting food, the chickens will process the food better. And so she's been learning all kinds of stuff about fermenting food. She did it last year, and it really cut down on the amount of feed that we had to feed them. So she's going to do that again this year. She's talking about some horse oats. Chickens really love those, and she's going to do that. Anyway, and we're also going to grow our own food also. So we got a lot of plans in place on how we're going to feed the chickens relatively inexpensively. That being said, chicken feed in my mind just isn't that expensive right now. It just doesn't seem like it's overwhelming. So we're pretty satisfied with what we got going. But these Brahmas have really intrigued me, as big as they get. And they're sustainable. Whereas the Cornish cross, I said they would die within a few weeks on their own from a heart attack. Well, the Brahmas, they don't even hit full maturity until 2 years old. Now, they don't produce as many eggs as what we already have. We got Americanas and Buffs and New Hampshires, and they were bred specifically, I mean, you can butcher them, but they were bred specifically for a lot of eggs. Brahmas do about half of what these guys do. 3 to 4 eggs a week is what you'll get out of a Brahma. But that's okay if we're just raising them for meat birds. Now, the interesting thing I found was they don't eat very much more than regular chickens. A little bit more, even though they're bigger, it's not a lot. So by fermenting our own food and growing our own food, we should be able to reduce the amount of food they eat and even save us more money. Now, with not having a lot of eggs, we have an incubator that holds 22 eggs, but we won't get that many. Let's say we have 5 Brahmas, they all produce 3 eggs, that's 15 eggs. That wouldn't fill our incubator. That's okay, because if we had Brahma roosters, they would mate with the hens that we already have, obviously. So we would have a half-breed Brahma. So you would still think that it would get fairly large, even though it's not full bred. So let's say we have a 4-pound Americana and a 12-pound rooster. Can handle it. We looked it up. They can handle the mating process. Let's just split the difference and say it's the meat bird that produces is 7 pounds. That's still about the same size as what we were getting last year from the Cornish cross, and it's all free. These Brahmas, they say don't produce as much meat as the Cornish cross, but the Cornish cross aren't sustainable. Well, I just disagree. The Cornish cross, it was a real disappointment. We didn't get the size that we were expecting. I mean, they were still good size, but it wasn't what we were expecting. We've been pretty excited about this whole Brahma thing, but it was going to take, I don't know, 2 years really actually getting meat birds out of them with the plan that we had. So this morning, Carolyn and I were talking, well, what is it that we could do so we could get some Brahmas this year? So we went to our hatchery website and we looked to see when they would be producing their next batch of eggs. Well, as I said, our 22 eggs are going to produce on the 15th. They got Brahmas that are going to hatch on the 16th. We'll be able to pick them up on the 17th. So 2 days after ours hatch, we'll be able to get the Brahmas. Well, the concern is if you get 2 different age groups, the older age group will pick on the younger age group. So this has been avoided. They'll only be 2 days older. And we should be able to mix them in pretty easy. They probably won't even notice that they're only 2 days difference. Well, there actually only be a day's difference, 15th and 16th. So in all honesty, it can happen that the ones that we're going to have hatching on the 15th could take up to 24 hours to actually get out of the shell. So it could be the 16th also. So the 15th and the 16th, these all will be hatching. We'll pick them up on the 17th. We'll be able to mix them all together. So we ordered today 5 hens and 2 roosters, and we'll put them in with our meat birds, and then we'll be able to raise them with the meat birds also. Well, we don't have enough room for all the chickens. Now, what I told you we would do is we would put our meat birds in this. This is a little house I built out of coroplast. Well, if we put all our meat birds in there, I can cover this up, and in the summertime it's not going to make any difference. But I can cover up this screen here so the wind's not blowing on them. This is the north side of the building here. And that way the wind doesn't blow on them. They could actually sleep in here. Of course, I'd have to build a little roost. That wouldn't be very hard. Oh, they think I have some food. I'm sorry, guys, I don't have any food. But there's not enough chicken run for 29 chickens in here. Just this one little section, this section here. So we'd have to open it up for both of them. So what Carolyn has decided is that she's going to buy some of this plastic type of fencing material. And you see them a lot in Iowa because they have such huge snowdrifts there that they hang these plastic fences up temporarily along the road so the snow doesn't drift from the field onto the highway. So we got some of this temporary plastic fencing material. We could run posts around here and let these chickens out into this new run that we've created. It would be temporary. As soon as we're done with it, we can roll it back up, put it away. We don't have to keep it out. We put a tarp on it. I know a lot of people say that we need to let these guys free range, but we have so many predator birds here. Just the other day I showed you an eagle, well, actually 2 of them. There was a dead cat or raccoon over there or something, and they were eating on that. They hang out here quite a bit on the other side of the road over there. You see them all the time over there. So if we had this opened up, the eagles and the turkey buzzards and the hawks and all that would just pick these guys to death one at a time. So we got to keep it covered. So we put this fence out, we put a tarp over it, and they could come out and eat all this grass here. Of course, it wouldn't take them long to get it all chewed up. But that would give our older birds here plenty of chicken run, and it'd give the new chickens plenty of chicken run, and everybody would be able to get along at that point. Now, the only question I have is what we're going to do with the 2 little chickens that we got now until they're fully grown. And what we can do there is do what we did last year. We put them in the camper until they're old enough to integrate with the buffs that we have now. They're just the wrong age. They're a few weeks too early, and way too young for these guys. You can't mix them in with these chickens here. They would kill them pretty quick. So we have a plan to be self-sustaining and reproducing not only our eggs, of course we get eggs all the time, but reproducing our own meat. That is a fairly good quantity, size, weight. What we're doing now with the 22 eggs that we're incubating, I mean, it's not a bad plan, but for just a little bit more food, we can get quite a bit more meat out of them. So it just makes more sense to do it this way. Also, with the way we're doing it now, we would have to have 2 batches per year. Whereas with the Brahmas, we may only have to do 1 batch a year. And that gives us plenty of food for the winter. Right now, we have all the eggs that we can eat. So just yesterday, we had 2 meals of eggs for lunch and supper. Almost producing more eggs than what we can eat. Yesterday, they gave us 10 eggs. That saves on the amount of meat that we have to eat. Then our canned food, we can save till the winter. I think this is just a fantastic plan. Our chickens are getting to the point where they can supply us with all our food. Now back to the question, the end game, I wouldn't want to eat chicken all my life for the rest of my life. Well, that's you. Me, I don't have a problem with it. I have completely cut out the amount of electricity I have to buy from anybody. I've reduced the amount of heat I have to buy from anybody. I mean, with the firewood, all winter long, we don't have to pay anybody for heat. And then if I can get down to almost no food cost, then we're pretty close to being off-grid, completely off-grid. So if you can click this up next box, take you to my next video, I'd really appreciate it. So I hope I can inspire you to get as close to your dream as you possibly can. Thanks for watching.